I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling it.
Oh, same here, mate. Podcast number four.
Podcast number four. We're already away. With
Four
four.
for Thor.
Four for Thor.
Oh,
Jesus, that was meant to be.
wow, well, we were.
Wow, what we were.
Go. What you drinking, Matt?
Oh, bro, I am drinking a good old-fashioned standard ghost ship.
Ooh.
Honestly, you can't go wrong with the ghost ship. If you
Yeah,
like your
mate.
ales, good to go. Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm glad you asked, Matt. So I am drinking Sea Dog spiced rum, black
My
spiced
God.
rum. It's an Audi spiced rum. So
Oh,
and
blimey.
But the reviews online, right? I didn't go online before I bought it. I can't even remember buying it. I don't know why we own it. We got it somehow, and
Oh,
looked it online, looked it up, and it said that when people blind tested the drink, right? They thought it was three times some. I don't know. It was three times the value, or they thought it was so much better than the price that it was at the price point that it was.
right.
So
Nice. It's quite good. When you get your Lidls and your Audis, they have some really like dark horse kind of good quality stuff, whether that's drink or food. Like you've got some serious, like better than you kind of named brand stuff. You can
yeah,
always rely upon.
the
That's great,
problem
mate.
problem is it's always a gamble though, isn't it? Because you
Oh,
have
oh,
that.
absolutely. That's part of the thrill, isn't it? That's part of the thrill of going to Lidl. Every now and then, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go to Lidl today and see what I can get in my weekly shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with age, and this is what me and Soph differ quite a lot. Where she is absolutely the same. She's like, I want to go to Lidl. Let's go to Aldi. Right, cheap shop. Let's see what fun things we can find. Right, I hate to say this, and I know I'm going to be cast badly upon for these views, but actually I'm quite snobby when it comes to supermarkets. I'm Tesco through and through, Matt. To be honest, mate.
Are you?
Tesco
Are
through and
you?
through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you delivery saver?
Delivery saver.
Yeah. On on Tesco. If you're Tesco through and through, you've got to be a delivery saver.
What the what
Eh?
what what
You
what is
pay you
that?
pay a little bit extra. Do you get them delivered or do you go to Tesco to
Oh
do
no,
deliveries? Oh,
we
okay.
we go or we get
You
a
you oh you're
collection.
that committed. You're that
Mm.
committed to Tesco. You physically go. But you do that still?
Uh,
Well, I tell you what. There's one person that wouldn't be able to do any delivery. They'd have to teleport in, and that would be Thor. Today's film is the first iteration of Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Now, Forrest, I'm going to say that a lot in the next hour because it's already a gripe.
oh,
Already.
ooh.
Oh, I'm going to throw the bomb already. In all honesty, I think because yeah, this is it. This is it. This is the fourth podcast now. We are well away, and we're edging ever so closer now to the first Avengers movie, and the setup is very much in motion, and we're being introduced to all these superheroes, and it's bubbling, isn't it, mate? It's bubbling.
Oh, it is bubbling, and I think you've absolutely summed it up by saying setup. There is
Mm.
a lot of setup. If
Again, it's a setup movie, isn't it?
we thought that Iron Man 2 was heavy on the setup, this is like, let's crank it up another gear. Let's give you an entire universe worth of setup, worth of lore. Like, we're going to throw it at you big time.
Big time, big time. I look forward to watching it again because again, this is kind of one of those movies I've seen a fair few times. Like I'd probably say I've seen about 4 or 5 times, and that was probably either my fifth or sixth. And there were there were moments of new things, new because I've got a couple of Easter eggs
Ooh.
to sort of lay out as we go along in our chat. But yeah, no, I had a good time watching it. I think it kind of again it is, I agree, it's a massive setup movie. I do have a fair few gripes. I think, we'll get to it, but like the tone of this first Thor movie is very different to the tone that we now know as what a Thor movie would be. But that's part of the evolution, I guess.
I'm gonna throw it out there, right, straight off the bat. Um, Aside from one, maybe two grievances, rewatching it, this is my favourite movie so far.
Oh wow. Out of the ones that we watched so far.
Yep.
Wow, wow. Even more so than Iron Man.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, okay, bro. All right, fine, fine, fine. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this now. Well, okay, well let's start. When did this film come out, mate?
So this film came out, and it doesn't matter how many times we do this, you always surprise me because you always change the order.
Out of nowhere.
I had the summary. So 27th of April, 2011.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what. I'm literally looking at my Facebook page right now because it is, time of recording, it is April,
Mm.
you know. So I'm just trying to, and we're not too far off that actual date, but I'm just trying to see what I was up to in 2011. I know I was in my final year
Mm.
of my degree. Um, and that's literally all I can remember. I do remember seeing this movie. I do remember being very excited about the prospect of all these superheroes coming together because I think it was in the pipeline, wasn't it? From this point onwards, it was
Oh,
kind of
big time.
common knowledge that it was in the works. So
Mm.
yeah, what were you up to, mate?
This would have been I imagine my heavy in betweeners stage. So this was when I was like peak into the in betweeners. Like I was, last year sick form, just about, branching towards the end of the year where I was just about to get to university. I probably, as of April, I didn't know if I'd got a space by then. I think it's a couple of months down the line, isn't it? I wouldn't have done
Mhm.
exams by that point. So yeah, it was kind of teetering on the edge of going to university, seeing where I want to be. Very exciting time of my life. Um,
Sorry, I can hear random bangs in my room, in my house.
oh, well,
It's
hopefully.
I really hope it's really weird. Right, so where I record is just behind a conservatory, and sometimes you can sort of hear the tree sort of brush against the
Ooh.
conservatory side, and I'm always cutting it down, I'm always cutting it back, trying to get it out of the way. But literally, I heard the loudest thud while you were talking talking there, and I was like, oh shit, my youngest is awake, all right, because it's like 20 to 9 in the evening, and I'm the only parent in the house,
Ooh.
but it's not. I think it was just either a large cat. Oh, that's another thud. What the fuck? Sorry, mate. Sorry, I proper I lost track there. Do you hear that barking? What the fuck is going on? I'm gonna have to check it out in a minute.
Do you want to go and check it out now, mate?
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. Is that right?
This is got to say the spookiest start to a
Isn't
podcast,
it?
but there you go.
It is a bit ominous. Ominous. So shall I keep recording just to see if anything happens?
Yeah, yeah. This I might have to use this as evidence.
You might actually. Yeah, actually,
Yep.
that's true. Right, hang on.
He has just absolutely pelted it across the background there, ladies and gents. Absolutely pelted it. Oh, he's come straight back.
I think we're all right.
Oh.
Whatever it is, it's spooking out the dogs.
So, I am going. Sorry, Matt. I've got to call you out there. Matt He just muted himself to do what could only be described as the biggest fucking burp I've ever seen in my life.
It was so loud. Oh, it was being so courteous, so discreet to the one listener.
This
Apologise.
podcast has had potential murderer Matt's biggest burp ever.
Wow. Anyway, Forrest, it's about that time, bro. I need a synopsis. Tell me what's happening in this movie.
As the son of Odin, king of the Norse gods, Thor will soon inherit the throne of Asgard from his aging father. However, on the day that he is to be crowned, Thor reacts with brutality when the god's enemies, the Frost Giants, enter the palace in violation of their treaty. As punishment, Odin banishes Thor to Earth, while Loki, Thor's brother, plots mischief in Asgard. Thor, now stripped of his powers, faces his greatest threat.
Sounds really dramatic, doesn't it?
That is a very Kenneth Branagh
in it
plot summary.
Like, it's really dramatic. It's really you can feel the suspense is in there. There's lots at play, lots of characters at stake. Like you say, it's and I'm going to say it's probably a lot on this podcast as well. It sounds very theatrical in a way. Yeah.
Right. So we start in New Mexico. We come across Eric Selvig, Jane Foster, and we come across Darcy.
And they're in their little car, aren't they? A little van, trucking along the desert, kind of, not fully reminiscent, but we know that Iron Man started like this, didn't we? Kind of in the desert a little bit, trucking along in a different type of car. And they're astrologists, aren't they? So they're scientists, and they've been monitoring this kind of weird weather occurrence that's been happening over the last 3 days, and they're kind of trying to tackle it. And obviously what happens is then they are there at the moment where Thor gets banished, okay? And then a boom of light comes down, and there's kind of like a gust of smoke. There's some clever one-liners. Jane's friend, what's the character's name?
Darcy.
What a character. Flipping love that character.
Amazing character. Like, incredibly good. And to be fair, worthy of a shout out of Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings is brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Massive fan. Immediately. Coming out with some absolute bangers of lines and just thrown in the comedy immediately, which was great. And basically, I find so through the smoke comes Thor, and then through kind of their obviously he's quite an opposing figure. He gets tased, and he gets taken out. He gets tased and taken out, and then we go into a flashback.
The rewind goes on for a long time, but
I forget it was a rewind. When I was watching it, I forgot it was a rewind because it was that long. Yeah.
But I loved the beginning. So we've had that first bit, and then I love the Lord of the Rings-esque telling of the history. We hear about the Frost Giants, we hear about Asgard, the Nine Realms. Awesome beginning.
Don't agree. God, we're literally already 5 minutes in.
We are gonna disagree a lot, mate.
We're gonna need more alcohol, I think. I think that's interesting from your point. That you thinking it's quite an epic thing, and that's exactly the kind of the way that I got was that it was trying to be like Battle of Helm's Deep, like it was trying to be epic. And the problem with me is when you are in the Battle of Helm's Deep, you are invested and you know immediately what's at stake here. This is happening at the beginning. This is all happening at a point where we're just being introduced to these characters and we're just getting a backdrop, blah, 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 and that's fine. And I think that I think I might be overanalyzing it a little bit here, and I think I might be being a bit harsh here. But it just feels a bit too epic for what it needed to be in just it just being a very clear, concise, quick kind of flashback, and then we can go straight to the main plot. Do you know what I mean? I just thought I don't know. I think this is the thing as well because we've gone from these kind of human characters living on Earth to then jumping to this god.
But
You know,
but that is exactly why we need that. That is why we need that grand gesture of an opening and a massive welcome to here's the Nine Realms, here's Asgard, here's Frost Giants, here's random, because it's almost going, right, you guys, you've been absolutely sheltered. You think, oh, Iron Man, brilliant. He's a guy. He can create. He's a scientist who can create this. Works for. He's got a lot of money, billionaire, right? Then you got, oh, we've had Incredible Hulk. We've got Bruce Banner, similar vibe, scientist, gamma, military, and it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, right? We gotta take this up a peg or two. So what better if you started this film and you just went, here we are in Asgard. Hello, Thor. Oh, you got a hammer. Oh, you don't live on planet Earth. Oh, hello, Thor. Oh, Odin. Oh, you got a dad who's a little bit arsey. Oh, hello, Loki. He's a bit mischiefy. And I'm gonna go straight to the hardcore. I'm gonna go straight to the core of it. If I am thankful that we didn't get a Ragnarok style first film to Thor. I think if we'd have gone into into that world straight away, I wouldn't have bought in at all. I think Thor, it needs to be grand, it needs to be serious, it's got to offer that all of the vibes that this offered straight off the bat.
it's weird. I think this is because I think my perspective of this movie has changed since from the first time I watched it. So it must have been my reaction must have been your reaction to that and your point of view to the film in terms of it being grand, being really epic, but taking itself really seriously. It's a hugely different tone as well in terms of a character. It's a god. It's all it's Shakespearean in a way, right?
It's very Greek grand theatre in Odin. We've got these grand characters, very fleshed out families. So it's a family melodrama, right? And it's absolute. Like, I think it deserves that intro, and it deserves that grandeur that it has.
Do you know, in terms of it being Shakespeare, apparently Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki, actually based characteristics of his character from Iago, from Othello, and Edmund from King Lear. And again, I don't know whether that's something that he was asked to do, because we all know, okay, so Kenneth Branagh is a massive Shakespearean director, massive Shakespearean actor as well. He's really up there with kind of the upper echelon of Shakespearean actors. And so, the tone of this movie makes sense for the person that's directing. It makes sense for the people that are in the film as well. People like Anthony Hopkins, people Tom Hiddleston as well, really throw in some acting chops in this movie. Like Anthony Hopkins, as Odin is incredible. It's just it's so good. He is so good.
Insanely good.
It's ridiculous. I think just going back to my point in terms of like the tone of Thor is that now my tone of Thor is all Taika Waititi's, vision of it being really comedic, really quite silly. He's this god and he's had to humanize himself through the way, and I think because it's not like that in this first movie, I'm a little bit like, what? It's a bit jarring. But I think this serious film needed to happen in order for those films to occur.
We are going to have such a Thor journey, because I am so the opposite. Waititi's I didn't get on with Ragnarok, and I
I think
despise it.
that's
I
so interesting. It's my favorite. It is my
I
hands down my
abs-
favorite.
absolutely despise what it will be interesting to go back and watch it again. But I remember the first time I didn't even finish it. I think I watched an hour and I went, nah, I'm out.
Wow.
It's too much. Like it's just too much.
And I'm interested to know whether this was intentional in terms of Kenneth Branagh putting a direction kind of quote and note into this to Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. It's like, take yourself very seriously. You're not a human. You're a god. You're this. And then all of a sudden, the moment he lands on Earth, there's these moments of this kind of human element that's kind of being introduced, and this godlike presence that he has kind of being taken down a little bit. It doesn't go, but it's kind of being taken down a peg, and he gets humbled, massively in this movie. But yeah, anyway, going back to the prologue of this kind of flashback very quickly, as another little Easter egg. The village that the frost giants attack and take over, kind of very like Game of Thrones esque as well. Actually, I thought is the same village, an area that then becomes New Asgard later down the line in the MCU.
Oh,
That's a little nugget of
well, hello. Wow,
yeah.
we were. What I felt was missing was the life and the soul of Asgard. So I felt that we got a lot of the history, a lot of the immediate family and the family drama, but what we know about Greek tragedies or what we know about Shakespeare is that it's all about the society around, right? It's the societal kind of the story might be about the family, but it's in relation to everything that's going on in society around them, right? And I don't feel until it towards the end of this film you get the banquet scene with Sif and on all of that, and you see a bigger Asgard basically, and I feel like that's the only Lord of the Rings element where I want to see a thriving Asgard,
Which would make sense in a way to set up the investment of being personally attached to Asgard, and then what happens obviously later in the movies with when flipping Thanos turns up and breaks hell quite literally on Asgard. And so I think there's that. I think there is that. I think you're right. I think there wasn't really any interaction in understanding with the world of what Asgard is and the people within it. We don't actually get that until later in the other, in probably I think it's in the next Thor actually, where we sort of see more kind of like crowd scenes and stuff. But yeah, we literally just get a picture, don't we? We just get an idea of how it looks physically. And Rainbow Road as well. That's what I call it. I actually know what it's called. But it bloody looks like it, doesn't it?
It does.
So in terms of our next gripe, it kind of leads into kind of what happens next. So we have this kind of setup with the frost giants being, okay, these are the bad people within this realm. And we get to the moment where Thor gets coronated or is to be coronated. And he has a big procession. He's coming down all heroic, loving life. Look at me, I'm Thor. Gets down on one knee. And then there's this shot and where it's a close up and he just looks up at Odin. You can see him looking up and we're kind of looking at Thor's reaction. And all I am distracted by is his blonde eyebrows. The worst fake eyebrows I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, and I was like, oh, he's not as good looking as he should be in this movie. I was like, which is a shame.
Okay.
I just look, all right.
That's one take.
My admiration and man crush that I have for Chris Hemsworth was not fulfilled, was satisfied in this movie. That's all I'm saying.
Fucking hell. I know you said that you might be looking too in depth in this film, but that is just, that's the taking the fucking piss, that is, mate.
I mean, I had a full-on conversation. I had a full-on conversation with Rachel, who's my wife, right? And she was like, it is actually so bad to the point it's off-putting. And I was like, oh my God, it actually is. But seriously, if you're listening, one listener, okay, and if you did watch it, go back without, if you didn't notice the beard situation, go back and eyebrows, go back and listen and watch that moment, when he gets coronated, and just look at that close up, pause your TV, get as close as possible to your TV or screen as possible, and really intensely look at that fake eyebrows and that fake beard, and you don't tell me that you're not bothered by that, because it's horrendous. Anyway, sorry. Yes, that was a gripe. Anyway, he goes to get coronated, and the Frost Giants ruin it because they basically storm into Asgard, and they try to steal what? When I say steal what, it's because I've literally forgotten what they tried to steal. It's the Tesseract, right? Oh, it is the Tesseract, but they don't know it's the Tesseract. It's the power source that they desire, because they've taken, that's theirs. That was originally theirs, wasn't it? This blue power source.
Yes.
The name escapes me, but yes, that. What I love is that what's the name? What's the female? She's not Valkyrie, is she? Sif. I was gonna say cyst, and it's not cyst.
Oh wow!
I know it's not cyst. Sif.
Who is great, by the way.
Brilliant. Do you know, I think there's not enough of that character, and never has been enough of that character. And what was lovely is that character was momentarily featured in the new Loki series, but just like very minuscule. But like, yeah, I think there was moments where the character was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, for a bit.
Got rumoured to believe Sif might appear in the new Thor film.
I'd love to see more Sif. I think she's absolutely brilliant, but she kind of like puts Thor down immediately. She's like, well, no, you didn't do that for me. I did this myself, but you were there. And it was like, yes, I was there. Anyway, he decides and rallies his friends to go, look, we're going to go to Jotunheim, where these frost giants are, and we're going to teach them a lesson because they spoilt my bloody party. All right? So I'm going to go take them out. Who's with me? And kind of what instigates that is kind of Loki has been really, really quiet and listening through this whole kind of process and everything happening, and been a kind of quiet listener. And it's been great. Sorry, you just kind of animated yourself in a way I've never seen before, mate. Go on.
I'm so glad, right? You perfectly angled back to Loki, because first gripe.
Oh, yes. Go on. Tell me it's his hair, isn't it?
It's not. What is your obsession, Matt, mate?
I've
got no problem with. I know that they are larger than life characters, mate. Not a one moment have I looked at the screen and gone, "Fucking hell, come on,
greasy,
mate."
slick back hair. I just don't understand. Anyway, go on.
It's alright. It's supposed to not be from planet Earth, Matt, mate. There's a lot not. Anyway, Loki. My first gripe. Far too many shots of Loki at this point of the film, which are basically telling you as an audience he's not who he seems, right? Far too much of that, straight from the why do we need that? And they what Matt is currently face up right to the camera, eyes shifting all over the place.
That's a pretty good demonstration, that
it was, and there's no need, and a gripe with Marvel so far, right? When we're really closely looking at these films, sometimes are really bad at over-indicating what is about to happen, right? There's no need to have that many shots of Loki. Like maybe a couple of glimpses of Loki. Honestly, at this point in the film, it's like shot of Thor, shot of Odin, shot of a frost giant, shot of Loki, shot of Loki. And there's no other reason we would be panning to Loki right now. He's not part of the action at all. I would rather we had two really full acting, not action packed, but acting packed, where you really see close up of Loki. You know what? Something's not right there. Two of those, no more, done, right? And then we find out why he's shifty. Too much of it.
Yeah,
too much.
I agree. I think you're right. With that might have then put it into even more danger of making this. Remember, this is still a flashback, isn't it? Epically long in that moment. But still, yeah, I totally agree. But then they decide, don't they, to go to Jotunheim. They try and take on the big baddie, of the frost giants, and there's absolutely hella loads, shit tons of frost giants that come and sort of battle with Thor and all that kind of stuff. Basically, they get overrun, and it gets to a point where, well, actually, they realize that this is actually a harder job than they thought. Then Odin, in kind of like a massively pissed off dad way, turns up in his white horse and just kind of shoots everybody down. Goes, yep, what are you doing? Stop this right now. Daddy says stop fighting. All right, let the adults talk. And they come to an agreement, but the frost giant says, "You realise that he's gone one too far here."
Laufey, I think he finds it.
Laufey, yeah, he declares this is war, and he goes, "Does he say so be it?" or something like that? Well, I know, or something like that. It's something very, just the way Anthony Hopkins delivers it it's wonderful.
The House of Odin is full of lies, Laufey says.
Yes.
And that's another thing, mate. Going back to the Loki comment really quickly. There's enough in there. He says enough, like there are enough comments to make without panning straight to Loki. Like we know, we don't treat your audience like they're thick as shit. If you're saying there are lies in the House of Odin, it's either going to be Odin or fucking Loki, isn't it?
That's so true. Do you know what's really funny? So we haven't even mentioned Thor's mum. Thor's mum, she gets a look, and that's it. Frigga. Yeah, so she gets a look. But anyway, they go back, don't they? They go back, Thor sends everybody back, and they have a big kind of domestic argument in front of all their friends. Again, Loki kind of listens and watches on, and Dad goes, well, you know what? You've gone one step too far. I'm kicking you out of the house. Do not come back to Asgard until you feel like you're maybe a little bit worthy for this. I'm taking your hammer away as well. And he says all the kind of like, whoever possesses this holds the power of Thor, chucks it out. All right. And then Thor gets then booted out.
Big praise for that scene. The banishment scene, like, oh my God. The acting,
you're so right.
That is the absolute, like, pinnacle of Kenneth Branagh. Right, we're gonna fucking Shakespeare the holy hell out of this.
Yeah, it is very Shakespearean, isn't it? It is a proper, serious, dramatic scene that you wouldn't necessarily. And actually, in all honesty, we actually haven't seen a scene like that at all in the MCU up until that point.
I think Edward Norton thought he was doing that. I'm Bruce Banner. I think I'm doing a very good Shakespeare performance here. Second gripe. I've put comedy is quite badly written in this. See the jokes coming a mile off, like Thor getting run into the second time. Right, that whole it was just, it wasn't funny. Absolute, might as well not have bothered. Thor getting run into the first time, okay, but they actually try and make it a thing to the point when Jane goes, "Oh God, I've got to stop running into you like this." Hey, running into you.
Yeah, that's one. I think that kind of leads into my next gripe. Really, is the kind of this whole love interest with Jane and Thor. It's really, really weird, and it kind of happens way too.
Comes out of nowhere. It's not believable. All of the action in this film, right? Okay, minus the flashback, we don't have any knowledge of time frame, right? So in our minds, quite like you raised with the Incredible Hulk, with the lack of knowledge about time. In our minds, this has all happened over a couple of days. Like it won't have been that long at all. So they're supposed to have spent one night together, and next day suddenly oh my God, I don't know how I'm ever not gonna see you again.
Yeah,
joke.
Yeah, it's weird. I think so when Jane's character sort of meets with Thor, there's this kind of, I think the direction is like she kind of falls immediately head over heels over this really, handsome, blonde eyebrowed and blonde beard, blonde hair.
Yeah.
God, I don't know how you would because of the blonde eyebrows, but still. Anyway, it's again, you've got again, and this kind of goes into kind of like the Liv Tyler situation I had with in the Incredible Hulk, is that you are giving poor lines to a really, really good performer, a really good artist. Anyway, Thor gets then taken away to the hospital because that's where you take people when they're injured. Anyway, Thor basically goes, "Where the hell am I? What are you doing? What are you putting this on me?" He takes out everybody in the hospital. Okay. Then he gets drugged, and then they decide, and then they kind of decide, actually, this is the best place for him. I am jumping here just because I know there's still lots to talk about, but I think the next kind of moment is when they take him to the diner.
Yes. Prior to that, we got to do a Stan Lee tribute. Can't
Yes,
jump
we
ahead
do.
to.
Thank you very much.
So
Well done.
Stan Lee, there was a group of I don't know what you describe them as, thugs or just opportunists who are trying to get. Basically trying to get Thor's hammer, aren't they? They're trying to take it away. They realise that it's very strong. You can't possibly take it. And Stan Lee is in the car, and he's trying to drag the hammer using the force of his car. And he says, "Did it work?" And he looks at the back of his car, very happy, very excited with himself. And he went, "Did it work?" Hey! Love him.
Oh, bless him. Bless him. Love him. He's not dead,
Yeah.
see? As in the character Stanley. Stanley is dead, unfortunately.
Oh, what a way to bring that down.
That went really dark really quickly. Sorry.
Fucking hell.
Oh, Jesus.
Gonna need a
Fuck's
swig of
sake.
me rum to get over that.
Anyway, we're in the diner. There's an infamous scene here, isn't there? Really, I think where Thor discovers doesn't discover beer, but like I suppose beer as on Earth, I can only imagine is very different to what beer or mead would be like in Asgard. I don't know actually. Do they have ghost ship in Asgard? Maybe. Who knows?
What a thing to find out. We need to find out.
Yeah, I think we do. Anyway, he smashes the glass down the floor and goes, another. And that is a clip that's probably been used a million times over in all kinds of like MCU related stuff and like videos, trailers, all that kind of stuff. In terms of what happens in that scene, it's not really much, really, because they're all just trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, obviously, before this as well, Loki discovers that he is of frost giant descendants as well. And then he kind of like sees this kind of hand becoming blue and all that kind of stuff. And
and the idea that Odin's kept this quiet for years. He kind of wanted to use Loki to create an alliance with the frost giants. So it's kind of we're looking at this. Odin's good image up to now is mildly being eroded when you look at like actually you've never told your son that he's the son of Laufey, like and actually is it less to keep Loki safe, or is it more about the benefit to Odin by doing that?
Anyway, they get into the car. They drive towards Thor's hammer. There's a moment where Thor and Jane are having a scene in the car. Now, it's not a gripe, it's an observation. Just because I still think Natalie Portman is a fantastic actor. What actress? What's the deal with that?
Where are we at?
Where are we at with that? I'm interested. However she defines herself in terms of actor, actress, it's absolutely fine. Either way. And there is a moment where she kind of steers the steering wheel. Very like there's this it's kind of car acting, isn't it? You kind of see it in scenes sometimes where people are in a car and they're just doing this. And what I'm doing for the listener right now is I'm just literally just shaking my hands very violently. And then what happens is on this wheel is that there's nothing really going on. They're not going left or right. They're just going straight. There was just this really distracting movement that she was doing consistently with the steering wheel. And this is so minor.
You are as petty as I was getting with the Incredible Hulk. Yeah,
I think I'm getting a little bit too petty. But it just distracted me a bit, man. I'll be honest. Anyway, Jane swooning over Thor. let's talk about this.
Deep
Let's
dive.
deep dive in
Let's
this a little
go.
bit more. Now, it's not like I don't have an issue with this happening. The relationship between Jane and Thor, I think, is it's an integral part to Thor's journey. It was just the way the character of Jane swoons over Thor so quickly, and it's kind of this giggly, funny, weird, immature kind of like swoon. It's not. It's and I think for the intelligent human being that Jane is, wouldn't react in that kind of way to anyone, God
Yeah.
or human. Yeah, I think we just needed a little
Right.
bit more, or maybe just a kind of like push and pull, a little bit more of Iron Man and Pepper Potts esque in there, maybe. And so they have that scene, and it kind of nighttime. They're waiting for night to fall, and they're close to the compound where Shield have effectively taken over the site of where Thor's hammer is, and they're kind of experimenting. They're doing the kind of the camp that they set up, and I don't know if listener you have seen WandaVision. Have you watched WandaVision yet, mate?
I have indeed.
Oh, so the compound that they kind of set up outside the estate where Wanda kind of locks herself into and creates her own reality. That kind of setup feels quite similar of what that is. That kind of like weird, kind of like sort of makeshift tent around things and stuff. But they kind of Thor goes in, infiltrates, nothing but himself, t-shirt and jeans and all, and takes out people. And then there's this wonderful, and I actually genuinely forgot this moment happened, the introduction to Hawkeye in this scene.
Yes. Another blink and you'll miss it. Well, not blink and you miss it, but a very quick moment.
It was so cool. So it's Clint, isn't it? So Clint is he's kind of up above his knee, and he's got his bow and arrow on Thor, and he's a hired gun effectively still for Shield in this kind of circumstance. And it's the first time you see him. You don't really know who he is. If you're watching this for the first time, you wouldn't know that he would be an Avenger. And I got huge kind of like, oh, it's Hawkeye, and I got really excited. But then basically he goes in, he tries to get Thor's hammer, well, his hammer, Mimir, and it doesn't happen. Thor doesn't work. He gets really upset, and there's this kind of like crane shot of rain, and he's muddy and shit, and he's like really angry. Again, very Shakespearean, isn't it? Very Shakespearean.
Coulson as well at that time, because you kind of see Coulson like cool off back up, and he's like, "No,
He plays it
I
out.
want to watch this. I want to see
I
this."
fucking love Coulson.
Oh,
He,
God.
in terms of like this podcast, Don't Be a Hero. He is, again, he's one of those people. He's just a human. He's just a guy that's in this job, and he loves his job, and he's 100% in it, and he's committed, and he's got all this compassion and empathy. Mate. He's our poster boy, right?
Question:
Yeah.
does Coulson know more about Thor than he lets off in the scene that follows this one when he's arrested? He states a load of countries where Thor might possibly might be a missionary.
Missionary.
That is missionary, isn't it?
What? He's been sent on a mission.
No,
Missing it.
he's
Miscellaneous.
missing.
Miss-
They call him a missionary. What's the like military ninja? He lists off a load of countries.
Yeah, a missionary. A hired guy, a mercenary.
Mercy.
Now, oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah. He's not a missionary because that's a person sent on a religious mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, yeah. Cool, got ya. Yeah. He's one of those. Does he know more?
I think so. I think he does. I think he is. He is dedicated to what he's doing in his job, so he must know. And as well, there's references in there in Iron Man 2 where he said he's been out doing other things, and that other thing is obviously the point of focus at that point for Coulson is Thor. So you can only imagine through kind of the time scale of things, if we're thinking properly here, he's had enough time to really gather as much information as possible from him. So there's probably There probably is.
But just purely because that exchange with Thor, there is no reason for Coulson to not just outright say to him, "Are you from Asgard?" Yeah, like what? Why make up a list of countries and call and say that he'll know nothing about? Chances are, let alone agree to. So,
Yeah.
and that's the only part that made me think, oh, hang on a minute. Okay, is there a world in which Coulson wouldn't know? It just thinks that the Avengers are from Earth and all of this is on Earth, and
Yeah.
there's no bigger story. Loki in the cell.
He does visit. He kind of teleports himself. Well, he doesn't teleport himself in, doesn't he? He's projecting himself.
Yes. So Loki arrives somehow, and he informs Thor of the news that Odin is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that Odin is not in good shape. Because of a very dramatic scene in which he randomly collapses, very out of the blue. He doesn't grasp his heart or anything. He just absolutely plants it on the steps of Asgard. And Loki basically lies to Thor and tells him, "Your dad's dead."
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out whether it's projection or he's reflecting because he's got this skill, hasn't he? This kind of talent where he can put himself in two places at once and multiply himself and that kind of stuff. And he uses that in terms of trickery. So I don't know if he's actually there in that moment, but Thor's obviously distraught. He's believing his brother immediately. He trusts his word. Coulson comes back in and asks a few questions, a bit of questioning for Thor. And in terms of like winding it forward, it's then we kind of get to a moment where we see the Destroyer. I think that's what the name of that big burly thing is.
Mm.
The Destroyer.
Yeah, the Destroyer. Yeah.
It reminds me of a villain out of a DC.
Yeah, it's almost Doctor Who-esque, I think.
Yeah.
It's very. It feels very feels very alien. Feels
Yeah.
very alien within this film, but likewise, that is, if you're going outside of Earth, you're going to encounter those. But it's very robotic-esque. So it's not. It's a strange.
It's weird. But anyway, during this moment where Thor's still kind of in interrogation mode, he's back in Asgard. His friends, his merry men and women, are plotting to come back. Yeah, not come back. Come to Earth to help him out and to sort of right the wrongs. And in that scene, they come back. Thor, I can't remember how he gets out. He's not like in prison, is he? Thor, he's just being interrogated. I can't remember how he leaves.
So Doctor Selvig lies, doesn't he? And he says that he's another scientist, and it's a fake ID.
Anyway, he meets up with his friends back in the high street, effectively, of this kind of very small high street. High street. I say high street. A very small village. Kind of, it looks like a model village. It's really, and I think that's another thing that kind of upsets me a little bit. It's because of where it's set and how insular and small town it is. It just all looks really fake. Like it looks like a weird MGM 1950s kind of like model set of a town. But
yeah, absolutely, and it's the same. So you got Asgard. Absolutely no vibe, no society. You got Earth, the smallest town on Earth ever, and they're all getting from A to B within about like a matter of an hour. And then even when they visit the frost giants on Jotunheim, that's a tiny,
there's barely crowd scenes,
tiny place. So yeah, Kenneth Branagh does not like a crowd. He does not like a crowd scene. Doesn't like a city.
He's like me. He doesn't care about the crowds. He doesn't care about these characters that mean nothing in the movies.
Devastated.
No, what is it? What was it? Is it Karen? Francesca, they need to go to a ballet lesson. Doesn't need it. He doesn't need her.
Oh
He
yeah, yeah.
doesn't need her.
Doesn't need them. Doesn't need the people playing golf during Hulk going mad.
No, clearly, clearly.
No,
Jane's reaction there. What do you think about Jane? Sorry, mate. Jane's reaction there.
God, that whole scene.
It comes out of nowhere.
Just absolute. Oh my God, love my life. Oh my God, I can't imagine another hour without Thor. I mean, the day before you didn't even know him, mate. No, I can't imagine
so
another
true.
hour without him.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on, Jane.
He comes back. He kind of like over here, he like hears her, doesn't he? And he kind of you sort of see in the distance like an explosion. Something shoots up in the air. It's clearly Thor's hammer, and then it comes flying straight into Thor, and with the kind of gust and dust and all this kind of stuff. Thor is then transformed into the god of him, and as in he's in his outfit, he's got the hammer, he's got all. He looks badass. That scene and that moment was dog shit, and it really was. Like it just even the bit with the destroyer. It just. I was like, what? The stakes aren't there. The stakes, because right now all he wants is his hammer. That's literally all there is right now.
It came across to me, Matt, that we've had like this film. I wouldn't say has a villain. Not a typical villain. I mean, you've got Loki, you got Laufey, but that is all backstory, right?
This is the funny thing.
There's no villain there. So how on earth could you end this film to get Thor back into Asgard?
So we made the point of Iron Man 2 saying it doesn't need a villain because of all of these characters that have been established with what's happening with Tony's character at that moment. It wasn't actually really needed to have an antagonist in that role, in that film, sorry. But in Thor, you can very much tell that they had no idea, or really there was no real focus on where the villain is, what the villain is. There was no stakes. It needed that. That's the film where it needed a villain, but there wasn't one.
I would have placed this entire film on Earth.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have bought. For the flashback, kept the flashback, but once Thor went to Earth, I would have kept it on Earth the whole time. It would have established a story between him and Jane. He could have got involved with some shit that went on Earth. So maybe we had a villain, a villain was already attacking their home for whatever reason or whatever, which would have led S.H.I.E.L.D. to be like, okay, we need this guy as an Avenger, blah, blah, blah. Hawkeye, obviously in the area anyway, as you are. I think if you'd have kept this on Earth, Loki could have got there. Like, would have had all the same stuff that we needed to, but it would just given it the breadth that it needed, so that by the sequel, we could have gone back home to Asgard. A reason to go home to Asgard would have started the film.
Yeah.
And then I think that would have played better for me.
So then that's what happens, really, isn't it? Because, Thor goes, I've got to go back home because Loki's effing everything up for us in Asgard. Jane, I can't come back. I've got to leave. And she gets all really upset. And there's this moment between them where they do a big kiss. And it's very, very Shakespearean. It's very melodramatic. It's like Kenneth Branagh doesn't understand really human emotions, and I don't know whether that's any judgment on his character as a person. I don't really get Kenneth Branagh, Forrest, I'll be quite honest, genuinely, but equally he goes to Asgard and basically confronts Loki, has a bit of a cool fight. Actually, let's talk about that fight scene. Actually, so when he arrives back into where Idris Elba, we haven't spoken about Heimdall, man, Idris Elba, and where he is and where he kind of guards the gate, which I think is actually an epic character for him, and I love that it gets fleshed out later in the other Thor movies as well. Now, there isn't really much action really in this movie, in terms of like massive kind of like battles between a villain and a superhero, but the only one we really get is this moment and this kind of, it's an acting scene around a fight scene. It's very again. I'm going to say it again. It's very Shakespearean because you got these dramatic lines, and now we're having a fight, jumping, and now we're saying, and then, so there is this kind of dramatic scene based around a fight that's happening between Thor and Loki in that moment. What are your thoughts on that bit? Again, I'm not like it was not like it's like, oh my god, it's amazing. I feel like what it tried to do is it tried to bring a different tone in to the movie, and it just didn't really happen.
I think I quite liked it. I quite like the build up of it. I like it. He comes in, kills Laufey. He says, "And your death comes at the son of Laufey." He has that like cool little line, and I think the build up of the fight's all right. I quite like the hammer being on Loki. It's quite cool, crushing him.
Is that the scene where Loki shouts at Thor saying that you were the chosen one?
Yes.
I think there's that moment there. I think in terms of like Tom Hiddleston, I think he does a really sound performance as Loki and introducing Loki, but I think that's the real moment where he kind of comes to life in terms of his character. But yeah, so basically he kind of settles down the situation because Loki was effectively going out to murder his own father.
Question: did Loki ever seek out to kill Odin, or did he always have the plan that Laufey was going to kill him and that Loki would eventually kill Laufey?
I think that's probably what he would want to do. I don't think he'd ever want to be driven to the point where he had to actually physically kill his own father, because I think he's more of a compassionate person than we think he is. So I think the tactic, it probably is that. Not to say that he wouldn't kill his father if he needed to get what he wanted. I think the kind of the final, coming back to kind of like the final battle between Thor and Loki, kind of doesn't feel, it's weird, isn't it? Thinking back on it now, it doesn't feel like the stakes are high enough, but they should be, because the components are all there. I think it might just be just the way it's played out and kind of composed together in the film. I think is that I don't know what else it needed.
If Thor has spent so long on Earth that we've established him, Jane, Eric.
That's probably it. We haven't had enough time on Asgard.
And by the time he goes back to Asgard and this fight started, Loki just emerged with the Destroyer and suddenly became an absolute prick. And Thor's gone, okay, you came down and I found out you lied to me. Now you brought the Destroyer down to kill me. So I think it's just a bit of a jarring sense there. Do you know?
I think it goes back to your initial comment about that we didn't get enough of Asgard and the people within it at the beginning of that movie, because when we go back to Asgard at the end, we go, oh, there's a fight. Okay, Thor's deciding to smash up Rainbow Road. Oh, is that important? Because I don't know whether that's important. Do you know what I mean? Is that road of a significant? Clearly, of course, it is significance because it's the only way in, only way out of Asgard, right? It just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough, was there, for you to be personally invested in that final fight at the end? Not to say there weren't cool moments. I think there were cool moments in terms of, like you say, the hammer moment, being on the chest, not being able to get out, and you see the moments where Loki kind of multiplies himself, doesn't he, just before that moment as well? But that's pretty much it. Isn't it?
I feel overall, I think far too much to cover for one film.
100%. And then obviously Odin wakes up, doesn't he? Miraculously, just at the point where they break the road, the Rainbow Road. I'm going to keep calling it that until I understand exactly what it's called. Break the road. Then obviously Odin turns up, and because Thor and Loki are about to descend into the nothingness, and Loki decides to let go and fall into the abyss, never to be seen again.
Yeah, never to be seen again, but you damn well know we're going to see you again
soon. 100%. Oh god, could you imagine if that was it for Loki?
Yeah. Just like, imagine? just just like we're about to see Obadiah turn into Thanos. We know that Loki's
You
Loki's coming
hold on
back.
to that, mate. You hold on
Oh,
to that dream. You hold on
that
to
is
it.
running theme. I'm going to be bringing back on the regular, mate. Don't you worry. What's your favourite line, Matt?
Meow meow.
Oh,
What's meow meow? Yeah, that's my favorite. Or when Anthony Hopkins goes, "You are not worthy." It's very good. Very good.
my favourite line: the destroyer arrives on planet Earth and is greeted by Shield. Members of Shield and Coulson, and Coulson goes, "Is this one of Stark's?" And
I like that. I like that line a lot.
he
Yeah,
squares straight up. He squares up to the destroyer. Yeah, is this one of Stark's? And he's like, "Oh, come on, mate." And then the next thing, the destroyer's just chucking fucking firebombs straight out.
it is badass.
It is.
So good. It looks like a bit of Starter Tech, really, if you think about it. You could understand why they would think that.
Random highlight from the film. So Eric and Thor are having a drink together, right? And they have two Boilermakers. Eric asks for two Boilermakers. Do you know, Matt, what a Boilermaker is?
Do you know what? Educate me, Forrest. I don't.
Did some research on this bad boy. So it is a shot of whiskey in a pint of beer.
What? What?
It's called a Boilermaker, and it's a well-known American beverage.
Really?
Shot of
A shot of
whiskey
whiskey?
in a pint of beer.
That honestly, that sounds utterly. I mean, what I usually do is I would finish with a whiskey after I've maybe had like a beer or a couple of beers. I would finish with the whiskey and that'd be it. But I would never combine the two. That is insane.
I reckon next podcast,
A Boilermaker.
whack out a Boilermaker, mate.
I'm game. I'm game. You know me. I'm committed to this podcast 100%. I'm all in. As an opportunity as well for us to, to get in. We're getting into the nice little flow now. We're four in. We're four in. We know what we're doing. We know how this is going. We would also just make sure that we are encouraging you, listener, dear listener, one listener, to watch along these movies with us, okay? And do give us your thoughts on this movie in particular, okay? We've said the email a million times, but I will say it one more time. It's don't be a hero podcast at gmail.com, okay? Just give us your thoughts on the movie. We are filming these, recording these, filming these. We are recording these in a block at the moment. What we will do is we'll kind of like collate all of the emails and we'll pop them out from the first phase after we get beyond the first Avengers movie and let you know of your emails and your comments and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll kind of go on a weekly basis from there. But this is wonderful. But we need to talk about the end credits before we wrap things up, don't we, Forrest?
We do indeed.
Okay, so
I immediately say that Thor got me big time because there was a stage at the beginning of the credits. Disney Plus didn't do its normal thing of saying skip credits straight away. Normally it says skip credits. I click the button, whoop-de-doo, I'm at the end of it, happy days.
Yep.
But it didn't do that straight away. So I thought, holy shit, is this the first of the Marvel films that has a mid-credit scene as well as an end credit scene? I was massively disappointed. It absolutely doesn't. But I am looking forward to the day where we
When it
will
does.
get to it, where we do have one.
Do you know what? What's really funny about this end credit scene is that I had to watch it twice because when I watched it a few days ago, I forgot that there was one because the end credits not to say it doesn't serve anything. It does set up something, that's for sure. But I just forgot. I forgot it happened. So I had to watch it again. But basically it's Eric, Mr. Irvine, Dr. Irvine gets called to this kind of like bunker, but it's really weird and ominous kind of lair. But that's where they're holding the Tesseract. But we don't know it's called the Tesseract at this point. But Nick Fury is there. behind him the suitcase with what contains the Tesseract. Dr. Irvine goes, why are you sending me down here? I'm really busy with work. I'm trying to figure out this new thing that's going on. I'm a scientist. Let me get on with my job, right? And he went, I've been sent you down here. He's like, what? I thought you were going to kill me. This is a bit weird. And then says basically going, look, what you think you know about the world might not be what you actually think you know about the world. And he's like, and he questions the universe, doesn't he? Dr. Irvine to Nick Fury, opens up the briefcase. Boom. There he sees power, energy, the Tesseract. Okay. And then boom, we get a little shot. We turn to our left. There's a little mirror. And we see a disheveled, almost weird green goblin-esque Loki. And I can't remember what the line is, but it kind of sets up a kind of like him wanting to get back and obtain the Tesseract again. So he's kind of landed himself on Earth again somehow.
He has indeed. Eric says the same line as Loki, doesn't he?
Yes, it kind of like he says what that will do, or I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, he repeats the very last line that Loki delivers. Now, obviously, we know that Loki can project.
I see him. I thought you meant vocally project, and I was like, I don't think he really.
Oh, I think that actually, that Loki quite good on his projection, as he's a very good actor.
Fucking hell. Yes, he did. I think he did. I think it was a projection, but then he used coercion techniques and his mischievousness to say the line. I've just found the line. It says, "Well, I guess that's worth a look." That's what Loki says, and it ends on that. But it sets up for the Avengers movie, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Which ticks perfectly nicely because we are only one film away, really, to the Avengers.
First dip into the pool of the Avengers team.
I can't wait. Honestly, I haven't seen the Avengers in so long, but equally, I haven't seen the next movie in so long. Forrest, what is the next movie, friend?
We're about to get a brand new Avenger, ladies and gents. We're about to get patriotic. We're about to rewind. We're going to get into some history now. We're going to have a history lesson.
Amazing.
We are deep diving into Captain America.
Oh my God. The first Avenger. Oh, okay. I'm in. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. Classic Honestly, Marvel film.
I actually genuinely can't wait, to watch this movie because it's, again, this is a character for me particular that grew on me towards the end, in terms of, Infinity War and beyond. Captain America, absolutely, actually from Winter Soldier, I want to say, it's when I was fully all in with Captain America.
Winter Soldier is just it's the next level.
It really is. But yeah, looking forward to it. Agent Carter as well. Agent Carter's in it.
Agent Carter.
Carter. Well, Forrest, mate, it's been a pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure. Absolutely never a chore. My good friend Matt.
Thanks for watching, listening to Don't Be a Hero podcast. Bye for now, everyone.